Hey, you guys, welcome back to Brownie's Judgment. I'm your host, Zuli, and today I wanted to talk about a topic that was on my mind and kind of on theme of what the trailer discussed about feeling like we don't know what we're doing. Depending on what stage we're in, we can face feelings of inadequacy, also known as not feeling good enough, whether that be in our own skin, our capabilities, our accomplishments, etc. Even if we are doing well for ourselves, we can still feel this way from time to time when we're comparing ourselves to someone that's doing a little better than we are on something we're working on for a while, such as our physique, our finances, and our mental health. However, what we fail to realize is that inadequacy starts in small, sneaky ways. And if we are not careful, it can become this big obstacle that stands in front of us when combating our weaknesses. For instance, if you're starting off brand new making music, and of course, there will still be so much that you need to learn. But if you're already telling yourself that you don't have what it takes before you even start, then how will it become possible to become successful? Comparison can be a big deterrent when overcoming inadequacy. Here's another example. A student is attempting to raise their GPA, but a roommate of theirs scores high on their exams without even trying. It's definitely understandable that they feel inadequate because for someone that is perhaps struggled more academically, it can feel near impossible to reach their goal if the person next to them does it without even thinking. That goes without saying that in life, there will always be someone better than us at something, yet we may be better than that person at something else. It's not necessarily about who's better at what and trying to make the other person look better or ourselves, but it's just really all about balance and evaluating ourselves with honesty. Insecurity is also something that can emerge or come to surface when we feel inadequate, when we don't have the confidence to step up to this particular person, place, or thing. We can feel even more inadequate. Insecurity is very much normal and perhaps will never go away. That doesn't mean that you have to succumb to it though. There will always be competition to look the best, do the best, and be the best. This has to be an entirely different topic, honestly, in itself. But regardless, I wanted to help connect the dots that inadequacy is a major dilemma in general, especially with younger generations. Life has its ups and downs, of course, and there will be moments when someone may say a comment that hurts us, whether they meant it or not, because we are more sensitive to criticism during this time period. Maybe we're finally building up the courage to take those steps toward a major goal or already in the beginning stage, and someone's words take all of that away. It could even be a laugh, an eye roll, or plain silence from this person that triggers the feeling again. What's important to recognize is that we all have our individual goals, and just because someone doesn't understand or see our vision doesn't mean that it will be in vain or worthless to try. It's easier said than done, but together we can accomplish what we set out for ourselves, because I'm also on this journey as well. At times I wonder and question, why do we put so much pressure on ourselves as human beings to make checklists and define ourselves based off of how much we completed that day, and allowing it to be an indicator of measuring how adequate we are? Or perhaps there are also people who don't have a checklist and feel lost in knowing how to even set aside that time to write our personal, school, or work related goals. Everyone is different. Some people work better that way, some people don't. It just depends on the person that you are. However, I have about 5 tips that I can recommend that have helped me in different stages of my life, and take it or leave it. What helps does, whatever doesn't. But I definitely recommend at least trying all of these in certain moments of your life as time progresses. Number 1, I make myself sit outside and write on a sheet of paper, journal, or even my phone about what's on my mind. Sometimes putting words on the page and acknowledging what it is exactly that has you in this state of mind is to start to discovering something about yourself that you never knew. For someone that is just starting off, I would recommend setting a timer for 5 minutes and working your way up from there. It takes time to unpack our thoughts. It can be uncomfortable at first, but you ultimately understanding your thoughts will help you understand where, why, and how your inadequacies begin in the first place. We can be oblivious to these inadequacies if we try numbing the pain by doing certain things and having certain habits that take us away from those thoughts. Some people turn to alcohol or drugs or, food or sex or entertainment, watching TV and stuff like that. But really sitting down with those thoughts, even if it feels really uncomfortable, can really help. Something I would also recommend is if you're driving, if you are the age that you can drive, just from time to time, driving in silence and seeing what comes up. Number 2, evaluating your strengths. If you have no idea at all what your strengths may be, I recommend taking the VIA Character Strengths Survey and Character Reports test. I will link it in the description or in the comments. It's something that I utilized back when I was 18 years old, whenever I was in college, still trying to figure out more about myself. And it helped me understand strengths that I didn't even know were strengths. And it really did help with my confidence. So it lists about 24 strengths, from love of learning to honesty. And there's just a lot of different ones. It took a while to take the test. It asks you like a question, and then it's like more likely, less likely to do, just based off of who you are, and then you click it. I'm pretty sure it's still free, but I would check it out anyway because it definitely did help me. But if taking personality tests aren't really your thing, then just asking someone that you know very well what are a few things that you're good at can also be an alternative. Number 3 is remember that we all have a purpose ordained by God, whether we believe it or not. I would start reading in the first book of John, then the second, and finally the third. The chapters are relatively short, and they talk about your identity in Christ and what was done on the cross for you. Regardless of where you are on your faith journey, it's a good idea to learn about what's in the Bible, more specifically, what the spiritual gifts are. I'm not too knowledgeable in this subject, so I definitely will link a YouTube video in the comments. But regardless, whenever we feel inadequate, it's just good knowing that we have gifts ordained by God, even if it feels like we don't. And when I learned about this subject, I was so curious and just absolutely enamored by what the gifts are. And I think it helps with feeling inadequate, because when we feel like we don't have any strengths or we don't have any gifts, then ultimately, or we don't know who we are in Christ, then it can really make us feel even more inadequate. But definitely those three things help. Number 4, have a printed calendar that you can put on your bedroom wall. I would say that sure, it would be easier to use a calendar on your phone, but being able to tangibly see what you've done throughout the month when you first wake up can be a source of motivation on those days you're not feeling good about yourself. Buy an inexpensive 12-month calendar. Instead of writing a checklist of things that you need to do or have to get done, use it to instead write down what you did do instead. Maybe you're going through a depressive episode or a serious illness, and all you could do that day was get out of bed and take a shower. That in itself is a huge win. There could be someone else in a different stage of life whose goal is to be more productive at work or school or in their relationships and want to be more organized with that aspect of your life. Either way, whatever you're trying to work on, just using that calendar can be very universal. The goal is to write down at least one thing you did a day on the calendar and slowly work your way up from there. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. This has been something I've been doing for a little while now, and trust me when I say that there have been days, even weeks, that I skipped because either I got busy with life, I felt lazy, or I was going through a difficult time. So please don't feel bad if that ever happens to you, because I completely understand. The main thing to remember is to keep going and to do it more days than not. So that way, when you're down on yourself saying, I didn't have a productive month or I didn't accomplish anything, you can look back at everything that you wrote and thank yourself for those 5 minutes a day you dedicated to accumulating the work of art that you now have on your wall. I would write also at the very top of each day, what was your favorite part of that day? Was it an interaction that you had, a funny video? Was it a meal that you had that you enjoy? Was it something that you did that was scary to you, that you wore a nice outfit? It can literally be anything that you like to put on it, as long as it's positive and it helps you grow. It is your calendar. It's important to realize that you have good moments in difficult times, and it's easy to forget about that. And the reason why I say this about your favorite day or whatever is because I remember I saw this one jar on Pinterest, or if you don't like doing all those arts and crafts, you can just write it on tiny pieces of paper like a fortune and put them in a small jar. But on Pinterest I saw something about 365 days or a year of good memories or something, and then I wrote what my favorite days were on like sheets of paper, and I put them in the jar so that way you can look at it and just remember, what, I'm not having a good day today. Let me just look at this paper, and you remember, hey, I have had good moments in this year, even if it's felt like a difficult year. The last step I would do is to download an app called Opal Screen Time Control. It has a white circle and a black background for the app icon. I can link it in the description. It blocks out any app or web searches that you would like to for any amount of time. I would recommend, or any, day of the week, but I would recommend starting off with an hour or two if you're usually that you're usually on your phone every day, because you don't want to set it for an hour that you're normally not on your phone, because and then that defeats the purpose. Just watch your productivity go up. It can feel hard at first. When I first got the app, I know that I struggled, but that's because I was faced to have to do things that I needed to get done, like schoolwork or chores or whatever. And I can say that when our productivity is down, we can feel inadequate because we aren't accomplishing as much as others when we set aside, when we're not setting aside that time. But when we do dedicate things that matter in our time that make us happy, there can be all sorts of benefits. It's important to remember that comparison, inadequacy, and insecurity can be heightened with too much social media, so please be careful. Listen, every single one of us, whether we want to admit it or not, have an aspect in our lives in which we don't feel good enough. I can't say what exactly that may be for you, and I cannot give a one-size-fits-all that will help you combat that. It can feel even more overwhelming when we isolate ourselves, and it could lead to feelings of hopelessness. We have to be careful about letting ourselves fall into this cycle and allowing our feelings to dictate, or determine rather, how we feel about ourselves. Everyone feels that way from time to time, but it's all about how fast you're able to get out of it rather than being there in the first place. All of us are different ages, personalities, walks of life, struggles. We have different hurts, pains, and mental states. But remember to take everything one day, one step at a time, and eventually you will get to where you want to be. Not anything that's worth it, is gonna take time. Anything that's important, anything that's hard will take time. But God will help you become the best version of yourself if you allow Him, that you probably wouldn't have imagined that could exist. I can say, as I mentioned in the trailer, that He's taken me down a different path than I thought I was going to. And honestly, I'm very thankful for it, because had things gone the way that I wanted, whether that be in school, relationships, career, whatnot, I would not be happy, because I didn't see the big picture, not like He can. But just know that I genuinely believe in you, your goals, your ambitions, and your dreams. You are worth it. You deserve to be supported and get the help that you need/want from those around you. Honestly, biologically, we are wired for community since the beginning of the time. That's why we survived when we stayed in groups and we gathered food for protection in general. We were never truly meant to be alone. Isolation is supported in our society, but it's a very dangerous place to be, and it could lead to feelings of inadequacy. Our emotions and our patterns are ultimately shaped by our behavioral patterns and where we dedicate our time. The world is full of works of the flesh, such as idolatry, greed, jealousy, etc. And I can link that in the description as well. It's important that we're able to determine those people and environments that lead us down those habits and temptations that we are trying to step away from. I'll link a video about it, of course. And men and women, and even people with different socioeconomic backgrounds, have different struggles. These struggles we face can lead to feeling alone, isolated, and inadequate. We often pick ourselves apart because we don't know what we bring to the table. And we try to figure it out by taking the time. When we do take the time to discover more about ourselves, it's a game changer. It can feel near impossible to grow in who we've always wanted to be if we're focused on others and what they're doing instead. That's what's going to help with feeling inadequate at the end of the day, working on ourselves. And that can be done in 5 different ways. As a recap, number 1, writing our thoughts outside. Number 2, evaluating your strengths. Number 3, remember we have a purpose ordained by God, and we can learn more about it by reading our Bible. Number 4, having a printed calendar that you can put on your bedroom wall to make successes and write our highlights. And finally, number 5, downloading Opal screen time control to help dedicate your time to things that you actually want and care about. Regardless, that's going to be the end of our episode for today. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your time here at Brownie's Judgment. Catch you guys in the next one.